Okay, so part 2 to this video, we are going to take our dragon, we're going to duplicate it by duplicating our whole layer. Okay, then, just so we know here, we've got, actually, you know what? I could pretend I did it on purpose, but I really didn't. We don't want to actually duplicate it. You guys often duplicate it when you're trying to do this, is what I've seen happen before. What we really want is just a selection of our dragon. Okay, so we don't need a copy of our dragon, we want the shape of our dragon. So we're going to use our magic wand again, and if we remember, the magic wand is really good at selecting areas of the same color, right? And if you look at the background, there's nothing here at all. So if we click anywhere in here, it's going to go right up to the edge. We do notice that there's little things in here that we didn't even see before. We don't want those ideally. Let's take our lasso and get rid of those, right? Subtract that from our, oh, no, we're adding. Because it's, we're selecting the background again. And now to get the dragon, we're gonna invert our selection. Select the inverse. Okay, this works really good for images like on websites with like a white background. Select the background, invert it. Easy. Okay, so we've got the shape of our dragon. That's what I was trying to say. And on a brand new layer, let's make a new layer. Let's label these here. I'm gonna call it, just gonna double click in there. And we're gonna call this shadow. I'm gonna take my paint bucket, no, my gradient, and let's check. So previously we've used this. Let's just do this to make it more obvious. Oops. Cancel. Gradient. Okay, we've used foreground to background color, which will make it go from black to white. I want it to go from our foreground color from black to transparent here. Okay, and I'm going to drag this gradient out, linear gradient, on this layer, kind of like this, on this angle, except the other way around. I want it to go, I'm going to switch it, undo that. No, undo that. We want it to start from black and get lighter as it goes away. Oh, it's on reverse down here. Whenever something's not working right, you gotta check out all the little options, okay? There we go, this is what we want. And I'm gonna do this one again. Let's leave it like that for now. We can always adjust it later. I'm gonna deselect this. Okay, let's turn our stuff back on here. We're gonna take our shadow and, oh, I made a little mistake. That's okay. We'll fix it. We want to put the shadow on the ground. We want it to be upside down, like this. And we want it to not be sticking up over the hill there, obviously. And right now it looks kind of like it's sticking straight up out of the ground. Okay, we're going to do a distort here. Okay, image, transform, distort. And this will let me do this kind of thing here. And now, hopefully, this looks a little bit more like it's flat on the side of the hill, right? Compared to the way it was before. So we're going to go for something like this. Kind of however you think it looks good. It's hard to know exactly what the shadow of this thing would look like. We'll click OK. And now you'll see why I sort of was thinking we made a bit of a mistake here. That's all right. We're going to quickly select the background again with our magic wand and invert it again. I'm going to make another new layer. I'm going to turn this one off. Take my gradient tool again. And now fill in the shadow this way. I want it to go from dark to light as it's getting further away from our thing here. Okay, and you know, let's go like that. We'll deselect it. And we're going to adjust the opacity of the actual shadow as well. we want it to kind of blend in with the other shadows, right? If we look at the ground, we want it to have the same kind of darkness as the other shadows in the image. Here's the shadow. These shadows look kind of green though, actually, don't they? Let's look at another quick way to select an area. First, I'm going to delete this old shadow. Okay, let's look at this trick. I'm going to hold the command button right inside, just inside this box. Okay, command and click. And it's going to select all the pixels on that layer. Instead of having to select the background and invert it again, we've got the same selection. And because those little, these shadows look like they kind of have a dark green color, I want to add that into our shadow to make it a little more believable. Okay, so I could try to find a green color in here, a dark green, which will be fine. I can also come out here, and you'll notice our color picker here turns into a little eyedropper. Okay, and if I start clicking around in here, you can see that it's showing what color that is, right, based on where I'm clicking. So it's a little darker than I want it to be though, because we already have the black layer, and so I'm going to make it a little bit lighter actually, like this. Okay, and I'm going to fill this thing in as well on another layer. And let's go like this. And let's put it underneath the black layer. And we're going to change the opacity of this green as well. Okay, let's leave it kind of like that for now. And we can play with this, right, by making the black layer more opaque, and kind of play with that combination of those two things if we want. Some other things we want to do. This looks wrong here, right? This goes right through the middle of this. I'm just going to erase these little flowers here. Look like they need to be on top, right? And now the problem, we've got two layers here. Okay. Maybe ideally we did that first, but that's okay. Okay, so these little flowers, this looks like the shadow kind of goes behind them a little bit, maybe. Okay. Now, one other thing I wanted to point out is why do we put our shadow down here? If you look at this image, all of the other shadows are going in this direction, right? Here's these fence posts and the shadows coming down to the left. So if our dragon is up here, we want our shadow to be down to the left again, right? So somewhere down here is okay. If you put it way over here, that's not good. Okay, the shadow obviously needs to be in this side somewhere. We're going to do a couple other things here. I want to blur the edge of our shadow because it looks too precise, right? The shadows, everything else, are kind of soft. So I could use my little blur tool over here, this little raindrop, and draw around the edges of both of these layers. But let's look at this filter, blur. This is a weird word, Gaussian blur, but it's kind of like the default blur filter that everybody would use unless you're trying to do something really specific. Okay, so we're going to take this and this is the green layer you can see there. Okay, so let's blur the edge here a little bit. This is 3.8 pixels. Let's try that. It's hard to see because we also have the black one that we have to do. I'm going to go filter, and I can actually just click Command F, or this is going to apply the same filter that we just did. I'll do it one more time though, just so we can see it. Gaussian blur. And now, because this is both of them being blurred, you can actually see the edge. Before, the black layer on top was kind of masking the blurring that we were doing. Right, so somewhere like that looks okay. Click alright. And That's sort of it. Last thing I want to show you guys. Actually, let's go in here. Okay, what we want to do, this dragon's sitting on top of the sign. We need a shadow on this sign as well. We are going to use, right here, this little tool here. Okay, the dodge tool. Dodge is going to make it lighter, and burn is going to make it darker. We're going to use the burn tool, soft edged brush, and we're just going to go like this, and it's going to darken whatever we are hitting with this thing. Okay, we have to remember this one is on another layer, right? This is this one? Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to darken this as well in there to make it look like there's a shadow being cast by this dragon. Maybe make it darker right up there. So from here we go around and clean up our edges. I'm not going to do that right now in this tutorial. Make it look nice. And then the last thing, if we didn't know how to do this, we can adjust the colors a little bit here. Adjust color, hue saturation, and we can make our dragon a different color of some sort here if we want. You'll notice this color, the hue saturation, generally leaves like the blacks and whites and grays kind of intact, which is what makes it kind of look believable. We're going to make them kind of blue because I like blue, and although I think it looks more believably in this space when it's kind of matching the color of the grass. I think that looks more real looking. So if our goal is to make people think this is real, maybe I would do that, but kind of like the idea of a cool ice dragon here right now. Maybe we'll desaturate him a little bit. That looks a little bit more believable. There we go. Okay, and this is done. So bonus marks, add some other stuff in it. Save this, maybe some more dragons or some, some fire or something. Looks like there could be easily some fire shooting out of his mouth here, scorching the earth. Important things. Really nice clean edges around this. I'm going to zoom in like this when I mark it. I don't want to see stuff like this. Okay, get rid of that. That doesn't look good. All these little bits, right? This is easy to just zoom in like that real quick and look for areas that stand out as not belonging in here. This dark edge out here against the sky doesn't make sense. It kind of is okay in there. That's too much, right? This is kind of the problem with the eraser is I think actually that looks a little too much as well, this dark edge. If our shadow is that dark, it might make sense to have it like that, but I don't think that looks so great there. Let's trim this off even. Again, go with what looks good. That looked good on the other one, but that dark could have been part of the rocks or something that we took them out of. It's hard to say. Is this part of the dragon? Yeah, I don't like that. Let's get rid of that too. Okay. So, finished. Stop.